to do a serious one.
Yeah.
So joining you live from the World Championship 2023 in Barcelona, the Living Legend podcast.
Definitely something that we've talked about previously, though. It's just like people don't want to innovate. They just want to net deck and play the best deck. And then when it doesn't do well, they're like, why?
So I don't hate that. Like, so I actually kind of, I don't think it's been posted yet. So, but I've opened 2 cases recently of some card games, and it was like hours long. I just ranted about stuff. And one of the rants I went on is about net decks. And I was like, it wasn't like a negative rant. It was basically like, hey, I understand if you net deck. If you're just like, I don't have the time to, you know, jam out 200 games and iterate and try to find the best list. I just want the best deck or whatever. That's totally fine. Like, I totally understand that. But like Bill said, it's when people do that and then like get angry that it's not working or whatever. It's like, yeah, it's because like, you just pulled the list, man.
Yeah, I also don't have like the time to iterate on decks and deck lists and stuff. But like, I also understand that, like, especially when I would net deck things like in like Blitz decks or just CC decks in general, the sideboards are very catered towards a specific meta.
Oh yeah, dude.
The sideboard is created not because like, oh, these are the options that you need. These are the options that I need right now. So like I would net deck things and I'd be like, okay, well, there's like a one of whatever card in here, or all of these lists have Gambler's Gloves, and like nobody in my meta plays KO, so there or KO or Rhinar, so there's just like no reason to ever play it.
Yep.
But yeah, it's like, well, they're there because that person is playing that card.
It's
you have to understand at some point that like it's not the deck list's fault because it was made for a purpose.
So like, I literally built 10 Shadowverse decks, 10 brand new Shadowverse decks, and then several new WeCross decks. And I mentioned this because one of the WeCross decks obviously had, it's a tournament winning Japanese deck, obviously had meta pick cards in it, because there's a card in there that's like, when this card is discarded by an opponent's card effect, do something, you know? And I'm like, well, yeah, if you're playing in a meta where that's relevant, it's really good. And if you're not, then it does absolutely nothing. So like, part of it is also just like actually reading and understanding what the deck is, but you need to kind of know what's going on. So anyway,
but exactly. Are we recording?
Yeah, the intro is going to be a little scuffed. How's it going, everyone? It's going to be a little scuffed because at one point I had 2 of the same audio playing in the recording, so it was like doubled. We're not going to be using that part. And then also my air conditioner was going for a little while that you guys probably didn't hear, but I think the audience might have heard it, and I just turned that off like halfway through. So I'll use it. No, we'll use a discussion, but it'll be a little scuffed.
Yeah, sounds pretty good on our end. I think we determined that Az is not the host, so you know what? I'll just put my hat into the ring because I'm already talking. How's it going, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Living Legends podcast, your one-stop shop for everything flesh and blood related. Sometimes and most of the time, other things too, just card games in general. But we make a very concerted effort to talk about flesh and / or blood. I am Bill from the Spike Feeders. I'll be your host for today, and joining me as always are my 2 lovely co-hosts. We have Az from Go Again Gaming.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome back, and I'm looking forward to this one. I don't know how much preamble we had in the intro, but we're speaking about a little bit of Prism stuff. So maybe we can delve into a little bit of that. But there has been a few other cards released as well. So we can have a look at those. They are very, very cool. And we've also got Kel as well. So
Hi. In a strange turn of events, both Bill and I might have something to talk about in the world of Flesh and Blood this week. Bill definitely said he does, and I was like, wait, maybe I do too. So maybe we'll think about it. But
it's crazy. Hell is freezing over. I have something that I've personally done in the Flesh and Blood space. But yeah, I guess going right into that, I this past weekend for ProQuest here in Winnipeg, I was the judge. So I was the one to supervise and make sure everything was good. And it was. The event itself actually was like super successful. We had 22 players overall, which is like we've in previous years. I think it was the second ProQuest that I judged. We fired with 11 people. So it was
Wow.
3 rounds of Swiss cut to top 8. We were done in like 4 hours.
Nice.
Like, it was very, very short. But yeah,
Doubled
so
in
really
size.
happy. Yeah, actually double the size. We had people coming in from Ontario. We had people driving in specifically to make the trip. So shout out to those people. You know who you are if you're listening. But yeah, it made the experience like a lot better. It was just a more full tournament. And yeah, it was a great time. Everybody seemed to have a pretty good time. And the top 8 was actually like relatively diverse. We had a Max Nitro in the top 8, who was just like turn 2 Nitro mechanoiding people constantly.
Wow. Okay.
Which was pretty lit. And then yeah, we had 2 Vinsets in the top 8 as well.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, we had
Jay by any chance?
Jay was one of them. Shout out Zen State Fab on
Nice.
YouTube. Yeah, good friend of mine. He was one of the 2 Vinsets. The other Vinset player was oh god, I can't remember who was. I'm sorry, I can't remember who was playing the other Vinset deck. I think it was Josh, one of our local players.
Interesting.
Yeah, but we also had an Azalea. We had 2 Katsus, 3 Katsus actually. Yeah, there were 3 Katsus in the top 8. Very, very popular deck right now. I saw so many. I think one of the players at one point during the tournament threatened to turn 0 Dishonor, which was just crazy. And then like the next turn or a couple turns after followed it up with like it was something. It was Art of War something triple Bonds of Ancestry.
Oh wow.
Like, it was there was a lot of pressure from Katsus in that tournament, but it was a really good time. Spoilers: the Azalea took it out, which was one of our very seasoned local players, Seth. Congratulations, Seth.
Nice.
And ended up pulling a gold foil Searing Emberblade, which obviously doesn't go in Azalea, but is still a nice hit. So.
Still relevant as well. There's still Phi.
Yeah.
Phi still exists, so it still could be. Yeah, it's definitely a good one.
Yeah, definitely a good pull. And I also from my Judge pack got because it was Judge pack season 3, I got Cold Foil Sink Below. So pretty happy about that too.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's sort of matching with my Cold Foil Fate Foreseen if I can remember where I put it. It's currently somewhere in my office, and I don't know where.
It's in that drawer of goodies that you've got there. It's got to be.
Which one, man?
He's got so many goodie drawers.
Just off screen, actually, literally just off screen. This is a pile of Flesh and Blood cards.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
For everybody who's listening, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 rows of just various bulk and potentially sometimes not bulk. So, but yeah. Anyway, that does it for my week in Flesh and Blood. Kel, you said you had something potentially.
I kind of forgot. So Az, how about you go and I'll try to remember while you go.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, let you know when you think about it. My week's been pretty straightforward. The league that means nothing has been stalled for a while. So I think the next load of videos is going to come out in a couple of weeks' time because we are going to be cut into a top 8. But there was a situation where I'm not running it through a Swiss round tournament generator. I've ran it through a round robin instead, and therefore I have to sort of try and figure out who's playing who based on who's won and who's lost. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass. So next time I'm going to use a Swiss round generator. So if anyone listening to this has any suggestions as to what tournament software to use that's not Gem,
use Challenge or Chalong. Use Chalong, yo.
Chalong.
Yeah, I'll get you a link.
Just use Gem though.
Can I?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Play anywhere things.
Yeah. Jay has a local tournament that he runs. He was doing monthly tournaments, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it was just through Gem.
I'm gonna have to try that next time then. Of course you can. I've done Go Again Gaming open tournaments on it before. What am I thinking? I'm an idiot.
For anyone listening, if you're running a non-Flesh and Blood tournament, there's a website called Challenge. It's like CHALLONG, and you can host whatever tournament, custom brackets, do it whatever kind of thing you want. I've done it for my Grand Archive tournaments that I've hosted on my Discord. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, I was using something called tournament bracket, which is just it was only round robin, I think. So that's round robin is where every player plays every other player at least once, and then the results come in. But I wasn't gonna do that with 12 players. I wasn't gonna do that. It takes way too long. But where was I going with this? Yeah, so there's 3 players. So there's 7 players that made top 8 with good results. They were 3-2 or above, basically. So they won 3 games and above. And there were 3 players that are fighting for top 8. That's the last spot is 3 players that are 2-3. That's their results. So I had to figure out a way to decide who's going to go into top 8. What do you think I decided to do to sort of settle who goes into the top 8? These 3 players have the same result.
Drinking competition.
You didn't like random number generator it, did you?
No, I didn't do any of those things. Although drinking competition would be good. Would be a good one.
It'd be on brand, yeah.
Would be on brand. But I decided to, in the league that means nothing branding, do a UPF match for those 3 players.
Nice.
Ooh.
So whoever wins that goes into the top 8, and that will be on the channel as a game, a UPF game.
Very nice. That reminds me.
I like that.
That reminds me of an idea that I have, and I don't know when I'm going to do it. Logistically, is really tough, and finding the right participants is also going to be really, really tough. But I've always, for the last couple of years, I've been thinking about something called like the Red Zone Invitational, where I invite a bunch of content creator and friends. But the catch is every single round is a different card game. So one of them will be Flesh and Blood. One of them will be like Grand Archive. One of them will be Shadowverse. And then like the finals will be the top 4, and it'll be like either a UPF or a Commander game. Like that's how I want my top 4 to go down. I want it to be just like a big multiplayer game.
Just a celebration of all card games as well. Sounds like good fun.
Yeah,
just finding the players that play everything, isn't it? That's the hard part, I guess.
I think what I would do to make it a little more fair would be to use like starter decks or something, because I don't want to assume that every participant has meta decks for every single card game. I don't think that's fair. So it'd be like, starter decks. And I want one of the rounds to be like a jank old dead card game that's like bad or like just awful, like the Sailor Moon TCG or something like. Ooh. Wyvern
should have one round be the new Digimon TCG and one round be the old Digimon TCG.
Bro, I played the old Digimon TCG as a kid. I have the cards. It is weird and jank as hell.
An Ultra Digivolve somewhere.
Like, you like Digivolve. You have to like combine some, and sometimes it doesn't make any sense. It's like you have to combine some, but not the ones that they did in the show or whatever. And then you can because I have like Kabuterimon and like Mega Kabuterimon, and then like Ultra. It's the one that's the bug. That's got like the big mandibles. It's the big bug.
Let's see. I know exactly what box.
The cards are like blue as hell. The cards are super blue. The backs are blue. The fronts are blue. Like they're all blue, and they just have like
everything is blue.
Like a transparent PNG of the Digimon over the blue. Like, yeah. When I say that my brother and I played like almost every card game, I mean it. Like anytime we'd see a card game, the starter decks or whatever, we played them. Man, I played Gundam. I played just everything. So anyway,
random. It's going to happen, isn't it? Living Legends podcast. We've played everything between us 3. Kel's played everything. I think between us 2 anyway. Me and Bill.
The only games I can think of off the top of my head that I haven't actually played. There's a couple of really, really obscure ones from the 90s that I doubt most people have even ever heard of. There's one called Cult with a K that I've never played. There's one that's about horses that I've never played. And then for like new games, it's called like Belissaria or something like that. And then some of the new ones that I've never played is like Star Wars. People keep asking me, but I'm just like, nah, I don't. Nah. So
you touched on it last week, didn't we? It's just like, it's just Luke Skywalker number 2, Luke Skywalker number 3, etc. It's just like, CBA with that, rather just play a unique IP instead.
That's something that I've noticed just as like a final input to this tangent, but it's something that I've noticed about like Dragon Ball Super, I think is the name of the actual card game. It weirds me out when it's like, here's Cell, but then here's Cell in a different locale, but it's not like it's the same version of Cell for everybody who's watched Dragon Ball. It's like this is Cell reformed, but it's like not perfect Cell or anything. Like it's not one of his other forms. It's just him again in a different card. That just weirds me out.
I think Dragon Ball is like the worst offender for that, because there's only like a very small handful of characters, and they just use the same characters like a billion times. Like there's almost no variety, and most of the characters look the same. This is coming from someone who grew up on Dragon Ball, and I love Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Very formative for me. But like, let's get real. Most of the characters look the same. Like Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, like any of the Saiyans, you just alter their hair slightly, like give him a widow's peak and it's Vegeta, and like make it to the side a little bit and it's Goku. Like they're like the same goddamn person. I actually liked hot Dragon Ball Z take. I actually liked it like the first couple seasons of Dragon Ball Z when Vegeta was kind of like weird and small. He was like really short and he had kind of a bigger head. I like that one. Anyway.
I think I was just going to say, go ahead, Bill. I'm just going to throw something else onto the end of this tangent. Afterwards.
I'm done.
I was going to say what you want about the character design. Akira Toriyama knew how to draw some fits. Everyone in Dragon Ball was absolutely decked out in sick outfits.
The funny thing is I used to draw a lot as a kid. I posted recently on Twitter about like, hey, here's some of my old little anime drawings, and I got a lot of feedback from artists too. They were like, oh, you should try it again. But I can draw like super jacked dudes now, like, because I used to draw Dragon Ball characters all the time. I can draw the anatomy of a buff as hell dude. But I'm really bad at like anything else. Like cannot draw like females at all. Like maybe the face a little bit if I try really hard, like I posted on Twitter. But like other than that, it's like it's super jacked dudes. Super jacked dudes. Yeah. Anyway,
you know what you like, Cal. You like super jacked dudes, eh? There we
Swole.
Lovely old job.
What were you gonna add previously?
I was just going to add as well. I mean, it could just be down to fandom, because if you really love Star Wars, then go ahead, love the Star Wars TCG. It's similar to me. I had a phase where I absolutely loved Final Fantasy, and as a result, I love the Final Fantasy trading card game, because that's similar. You've got Squall 1, 2, and 3. Different arts, different versions of art, different characters doing same characters doing different abilities. So it all just depends on what you're into, I guess.
I mean,
so
if sometime they made like a From Software game that had just like Dark Souls and Elden Ring and Bloodborne, dude, I'd be all over that in a heartbeat. Yeah. Like I'm a big fanboy of that. I'm a big fanboy of like Cygames stuff too, which is why I love Shadowverse so much. So I understand to a certain degree, but Star Wars for me, it's like I grew up with Star Wars, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know. It's like old news for me now, especially since the Star Wars, both the Star Wars franchise and the fan base of it just kind of like wore on me quite a bit. It's like, I watched the movies and the new movies, and I'm like, oh, they're okay. And then everyone's just like, I hate these. They're the worst thing of all time. And it's just like, calm down, man. Yeah. They're not that bad. They're kind of bad, but not that bad. Just a movie. Jesus.
Exactly. I was just going to say, geeks and nerds just, they get so attached and defensive of fictional characters. Just like, get a grip, isn't it? It's just a fictional character.
Go like watch something else. Like there's other like enjoyable things. Then just go spend your time better. Yeah.
Or just make up your own characters in your own fictional world and use those instead. Just imagine those characters up instead. Anyway. So
I've been trying to think about what I was gonna say. So what I was gonna say about Flesh and Blood, it was like it didn't really have to do with like gameplay. I don't remember what it was. I'll think of it and I'll come back to it at some point. But it didn't. I got so engrossed into Bill's story that I was just like, I was thinking about it, and then I was like, oh shit, I forgot what I was gonna say. Because it was a little bit of a off one.
That's all right, because we do have something Flesh and Blood related to maybe.
I kind of remember this. Okay, so I do remember one thing. So this is an announcement for the Living Legends podcast. We have secured a guest, and I kind of told Az and Bill, but kind of not really. So I have officially confirmed that James White is going to be on the Living Legends podcast for episode 100-ish. He's going to be on the podcast. We're going to be recording it in June, I think, like the first week of June or the last week of May. But we've scheduled a date. I'll share it with Az and Bill when we're going to be recording. But James White's going to be on the podcast for episode 100-ish. And it'll be fun. We'll at a later date, we'll solicit questions from the community. And we'll have our own questions and stuff to talk about with James. And so, yeah, that's one of the things. I had another thing, too, but that is one of the things that I wanted to mention.
That's definitely a good thing to have, definitely.
Yeah, really looking forward to being able to just chat with him because it's been a while. I mean, the only time I've ever actually gotten to chat with him was very briefly in Barcelona with Az. So and he was definitely pretty busy. So there wasn't much other than, can you record an intro for us, please?
Oh yeah,
the last time I spoke with James in person was probably the first Worlds. There was like a big dinner that they invited some people to, and James, Prof, and I like had a nice little chat. But after that, I saw him like maybe once or twice, and that was it. I haven't talked to him really since then. It's been a little while, so.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have some like actual one-on-one time, because normally, he's one of those guys that will go to the event still and people want to queue up to meet him. So, he's hardly got a lot of time for a lot of us. So it's going to be nice to finally just get him on it.
Yeah,
and chat about stuff.
It's really interesting. I guess I want to mention this now before we get into some of the other topics. And this is something I just want to point out about how Flesh and Blood has grown over the last 5 years, because this is Flesh and Blood's 5th year anniversary this year, I believe. And I've been covering it since the start, since like 2020. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention, I do remember the other thing I wanted to mention now.
Write it down quickly.
It has to do with the number of videos I've done with Flesh and Blood, because I was thinking about that as well. I recently celebrated my like 1,000 video milestone, and when you think about the number of like days in a year, you can really start to think about what the number 1,000 means in terms of how many videos you've made. So, and I don't even do it once a day. So it's a lot of work and a lot of like years, but, James and Flesh and Blood has changed quite a bit in terms of, I want to say, just how they operate things and how, the vibe, my general vibe of LSS over the years, because at first they were like, obviously a very small indie company. They're still like a small indie company by all respects, but they were much different vibes back in the start. It was like, it felt much more of like grassroots kind of thing, where you had like if you knew the right people, you had open access to like everyone at LSS. I literally would like DM James on like Facebook, on his like personal Facebook, and that is shifted now to and this is more of like I guess an insider perspective, to like I have to contact James through his like, I don't know what she is, like a secretary kind of deal. Apologies if that's not your exact title. Executive assistant perhaps is a better title. So it's like quite a bit different. So I had to be like, hey, can James come on the pod? Or, would James be interested in coming on the podcast, rather than just like messaging him directly? I say that, and I don't say that with any judgment either way, right? There are benefits of being like a small little close-knit thing, but also as you grow as a company, you probably need to get more professional, and you probably need to set these kind of things up so that you operate as a company. You can't just have random jabronis like just messaging you all the time about random crap.
Like random jabronis like us, yeah.
Like me, yeah. So I mean, that's not to say that it's all like that, because I still like message some people from LSS, but still, I just wanted to kind of point that out before we start getting into like the card talk, just kind of like how Flesh and Blood is and LSS has like changed over the years. It's been really interesting to kind of like see develop. See like this company and card game develop.
Yeah, because that's ultimately what they are. They're a business, aren't they? So as they grow, it's gonna get harder and harder to sort of directly speak to like James directly.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious, but like, James White is not your friend. He is the CEO of a company. Like, that's what he does. It's his card game. He might be a super nice guy, but and he might be kind of like, chill, but like, he's not your buddy to go get drinks with, unless he is in real life, in which case, hey, you know what? Cool. You probably live in New Zealand. But anyway, yeah, just a little.
That'll be fun.
Just a little aside. Yeah, it'll be good chat. It'll be good chat.
Absolutely. But yeah.
But yeah, with that being said, something that is also flesh and blood related, obviously James White is very flesh and blood related, but there are additional cards that have been revealed for Part the Mistveil, which one of them I'm really interested to get Az's opinion on specifically. The other one is a Riptide card. So one that I think we all probably have the same level of opinion on, at least in terms of how well versed we are with the class and the hero. But let's talk about them, actually, because I find them very interesting. The first one, let's talk about the Riptide card. So this is another this is a Riptide specialization. So similar to what's the name of that? It's not like inoculating shot, but it's something similar. Intoxicating shot.
Yeah.
You were nearly there.
Yeah, I knew it started with an I.
Yeah.
But yes, this is another Riptide specialization. This one's a red as opposed to Intoxicating Shot, which is a blue. This is called Murky Water. So it's, as I mentioned, Riptide specialization. It's a red that costs 2, attacks for 6, and blocks for 3. So that's a really good stat line. Ranger action, arrow, attack. If this has an aim counter, it gets +1 attack and dominate. So it becomes a 2/4/7 with dominate if it has an aim counter. So maybe worth jumping through those hoops.
Yeah.
It also has more text.
2 for 7.
Yeah, hoops.
Yeah.
It's a 2. Yeah, because it's an arrow. I know. You add at least 1 every time. But it also has a really relevant on hit, which is great because dominate with on hits is a really powerful combination. And this says when this hits, you may banish 3 face down traps, or you may banish face down 3 traps from your graveyard. If you do, choose one at random and put it into your arsenal. So you hit your 3 most impactful traps, or even just 3 traps in general, and you get 1 back. I think that's great. Just a little bit of extra recursion, and maybe you hit your Buzzsaw trap against Dorinthia and they cry a second time.
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah.
like really, really rough.
I think this is one of the only ways to get traps back, like just in the game at all.
Yeah, because they're not actions.
So
they dodge every other
reactions.
they're they're not actions.
Yeah.
They dodge like remembrance and stuff like that. I think this is really good. Something that is important to note, I think, just something that I thought of right now, is the other 2 that you banish face down don't get returned.
Yeah, they're just gone.
So they are just gone. So like you don't get another chance to hit your one of traps. Like I said, your Buzzsaw trap. If you banish it off of this and don't get it back on this on hit, then it is just gone for the rest of the game. Which I mean, it would have been anyway. So at least you have a shot at getting it back.
This is like a reminds me of like an intuition, if you know old school Magic, or like Gifts Ungiven, where you just pick 3 that you don't care which one you get. All of them are going to be good hits. Like I think that's what you do with this card.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's rightly so that it banishes them face down and gives you them at random as well, because of things like things. If you imagine things like Quiver of Abyssal Depths, what does that do? That puts arrows like this back into your deck as well, so you could have another chance of getting more and more recursion. And it's the only, as you said, the only card that can recur D-reacts. So I think the fact that it does banish them and give you it back at random is definitely the curb on its power level. Because don't know how much better it would have been. Well, of course it would have been better if you could choose what you get back.
I think it would be miserable to play against, honestly, if you could choose. Because, like I said, the example of you play it against even like an Azalea, you get your Buzzsaw trap back. There was a time that I did that to and it was pretty miserable. So, like, if you were able to do that, get it back consistently 3 times, because this isn't a legendary specialization, it's just a regular specialization. If you could do it 3 times and then potentially 3 more times with Quiver of Abyssal Depths, like, you are just stopping your opponent's game plan constantly.
I mean, if you're lucky, you could.
Trap, recurring. You could deck somebody with Collapsing Trap.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's just like, hemorrhaging cards, isn't it? Just discarding. You
could just straight up do that. So I think it is probably for the best that this is not targeted, because the card that you do hit obviously will go back to your graveyard. It doesn't like get banished after you use it again or something like that. So your future murky waters, your future murky waters do have the ability, the chance at least, to get that one that you've already recurred back again. Which I already think, like, you're running pretty hot if that happens, especially if it's something that impactful. But even if it doesn't,
that is So all the legendary traps, if you get lucky, you can just keep playing the legendary ones.
Yep. You would have to get lucky, but you can still do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's probably a good thing that it's not just like you get a trap back of your choice. I feel like that would be pretty toxic design.
Yeah. Another thing with this as well is if you think of the hand composition that you need to get the most value out of it, is if this is in your arsenal face down, you can use his bow with a blue, flip it face up and put an aim counter on it, the barbed castaway, and then with the two floating that you've done from pitching a blue, which he has a lot of anyway because of all the blue traps and stuff he has, you then play this for 7 dominate with 1 card. If it's set up correctly. If not, then you have to do a lot of setup. But Riptide's good at that anyway because he can reload cards on his opponent's turn by playing D-reacts. So yeah, I think it's pretty sick, to be honest. Don't know if the new Riptide list is gonna. Well, of course it's gonna use it. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But Nathan Crawford, I think from the card guys, is the one that took Riptide to a ProQuest win recently. So I'm sure we'll hear from him at some point as to how good this is, because he's the one who's done it recently, and Mink as well.
Yeah, Riptide guy.
Shout out.
Mink loves this. Loves it
as always.
Before I move on, I just want to mention that I've mentioned it in several of the past episodes, but Riptide is now getting the Bolton treatment, where they just keep giving him powerful cards in the expansion slot until he's good. They're just like, here you go. I know you suck. Just keep taking these powerful cards. You'll be good someday. Like, yeah.
It just goes to show. It goes to show as well, like how when the meta shifts, because Dromai was an auto lose for Riptide, because Riptide cares about actual physical attacks and trading cards rather than trying to stop allies from attacking you. Because once the allies are on the board, you're just getting all that consistent value out of it, aren't you? Whereas, you know, if you're trying to trade card for card, Riptide does have a lot of tools for that. So it just goes to show that with Dromai going, heroes like this can come through and get expansion slot cards to buffer them as well, which is nice. But yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, very interesting card. I think it slots in pretty well into the current game plan anyway.
Yeah.
I guess the only exception to that is, I don't know if it's a really consistent list, but there was still a list that was just a bunch of traps and nourishing emptiness, and then ways to recur nourishing emptiness.
It sounds like an Ian deck.
Yeah, so obviously this wouldn't fit into that because it's another attack and you would only want Nourishing Emptiness. But outside of that specific list, I feel like this is a pretty solid inclusion. It allows you to recur defense reactions that were previously they were going to be in your graveyard for the rest of the game anyway. So
yeah,
pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good. Can't complain.
And before Ian comments, that was my deck. Just cutting that off on the pass.
Yeah. But yeah, and then we actually have a second one, another Ranger card. This one has had a lot of discussion, I will say, about it so far, at least locally. But this one's called Long Draw Half Glove. which, if you read it in a certain way, kind of sounds like SpongeBob SquarePants. So I'm just going to put that out into the world.
Awesome.
But yeah, long draw half glove is a majestic ranger equipment. It's an arm piece, so it's gloves, as the name suggests. It has Battle Worn 1, which Battle Worn is great because that starts in play, stays in play until you need it. And the effect on this one is at instant speed, you can destroy this and put 2 cards from your hand and or arsenal on the bottom of your deck to give your next arrow attack this turn +4. So +4 is a pretty big buff, but the cost is significant. Putting 2 cards away for a +4 buff, I mean, it helps you sort of unbrick your arsenal if you get to that space. If you have a double arrow that you don't necessarily need one of them, and you weren't going to go too wide anyway, you could sort of translate it into a buff. Yeah. I feel like this is maybe potentially below rate, but this is the one that I wanted Az's sort of opinion on, I think, very specifically.
Yeah,
is this something that you would even want in a game?
I roll in a lot of Azalea spaces, as you know. Take that phrase for what you will. But yeah, this is inherently going in a ninja matchup. Because Battle Worn, obviously, the 1 block on the arms, we don't have that at all in any other space. So that can block a Kodachi, that can block an Ancestral Empowerment, it can block quite a few key things. But the main thing is Warmonger's Diplomacy. This counters that, because if you have a handful of buffs that you can't play, you then instant speed destroy it and then give your next arrow +4, which gets round Warmongers. So you can still fire. You can still Ravenous Rabble or do an E-Strike or something, and then you crack this and then still fire an arrow with +4, which is still quite significant on like a 5 power arrow coming in for 9 on a Warmonger's turn with an impactful on hit is pretty good. So I reckon it'll go in the ninja matchup, but maybe not much else. Where Azalea stands now, at least, I don't think that. I'm not sure if this is gonna see play in any other matchup. But I could be wrong. We could all be wrong. But that's where any deck that wants to run Warmongers is where you probably want to see this being played. Otherwise, it's just bullseye, balls to the wall aggro, basically.
Yeah.
The main consensus.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's great. What do you reckon, Cal?
Well,
I think it's quality. They
finally put Battle Worn on a Ranger piece of equipment, which is awesome. Yeah. Only took them like 5 years. So that's pretty cool. The art has Azalea in it, which is also pretty cool. And I think it's like her other glove. I think Bullseye Bracers is her what do we call it? Like bow.
Oh, it's Azalea on the art.
Yeah, bro.
How did I not know that?
How'd you not see the Azalea?
Oh my god.
It's Azalea, yeah.
Quality.
Yeah, I think it's her other glove. I think this is her her bowstring glove, and then I think the Bullseye Bracers are her bow hand glove. I don't know, I'll have to compare, cross-reference art or whatever. And that just made me think I want to use both. You should be able to use both gloves because she has 2 hands, bro.
She has 2 hands.
This is just a single glove. It's not long draw half gloves. It's long draw half glove. 1 glove. You need the other glove. Anyway, besides that, when I see this, I see 2 cards from your hand or arsenal, and I'm thinking, you could get 2 cards. You can do like a double arsenal thing with Lexi. Like you can have 2 cards in arsenal and get them with Lexi. Sucks in like aggro Lexi, but hear me out. Maybe in an ice Lexi deck in Blitz, where you just go super, super tall and rip your opponent's hand, where you'd get like those nasty on-hit effects, and you could use like Shock Charmers to get the extra ping, to get the extra discards, so you can hit them with like a massive this is a deck you're probably running like Shiver instead of maybe you're still running Voltaire, but give your arrow Dominate. It's coming in for like 9-10 Dominate, and then you get the extra like on-hit pings, so you discard multiple cards. I don't know, it's probably jank, but it's jank enough to make me want to try it at some point.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
it was pretty good. Yeah.
And then you're playing Ice Lexi, and you have access to all of the degenerate crap like Channel, like Frigid, and all that other stuff. You're basically just playing like Ranger Guardian, more or less.
Please don't remind me. Please don't remind me of that.
Yeah, I don't want to think about Channel Lake Frigid.
Yeah, you channel Lake Frigid them, and then you do long draw, like double arsenal. You can probably get a double arsenal with a combination of like regular arsenal, and then maybe like a codex to get the ponder to get the second arsenal or whatever. Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But yeah, I think that those are both very interesting. Oh, what's up?
There's one more card I just want to mention, but I can point that out after you guys have said your piece.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Okay, it's not much. It's not a new card. It's just new art. They unveiled the art for the Spectral Shield, and it's really pretty and really cool. I've kind of brought it up here, and it's like got this wispy blue background, very very Enigma-esque, like the new hero. And then I really like the center. It's got like the phases of the moon. It looks like on like this big square thing. It actually reminds me of like an old Yu-Gi-Oh card, like Book of Sun and Moon. Y'all Yu-Gi-Oh players know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So yeah, this gives me Book of Sun and Moon vibes, but yeah, it's cool.
Yeah,
just wanted to point it out.
Because what's her name? Enigma's got like a crescent moon on her forehead, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's like the moon themed one from like the blurb, because there was like the tiger themed one, the snake themed one, and then like the moon, and she's definitely the moon. She's all mooning. I've heard people say like, oh, it's got to be a wizard because it's moon themed and like crescent or waning moon or whatever, and I'm like, illusionists can like moons too. Like multiple people can like moons. Yeah, so
everybody I know likes the moon in some capacity.
All of the werewolves I know love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so some really interesting cards, just in general, as we're sort of getting into we're like kind of getting close to the spoiler season. I haven't heard anything yet. I assume you guys haven't either.
Nah, crickets.
No.
But yeah, I guess, well, they're probably just waiting for it to be even closer, because I think the spoiler season is May 17th to 19th.
It's late May,
so weird, but
like
it's late May.
I will say this, unless they tell me in like the next week or so, my spoiler is going to be a like Twitter post, because I leave to do a bunch of stuff on May 8th, and I will not be back in the studio until the 24th. So if they tell me like around the 8th or afterwards, ain't no shot can make a video. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think they're probably still in the mode of, we want to prevent leaks as much as possible, so preventing, like, lowering the amount of time that they're sort of out in the wild means that there just aren't as many opportunities for the cards to get leaked, which like I get, but yeah, then there's also the downside of we might just not have time to make a good video like we normally would have. So
that's another thing as well worth bringing up, because I think there was a leak circulating around as well.
Oh, really?
Which was a bit of a shame. Yeah. So I don't wanna...
there was I think somebody had posted in the spoiler discussion channel on the Winnipeg Discord what is potentially the weapon for new, at least the token weapon.
I heard the
name. It wasn't
name
confirmed yet.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it because, again, it's potentially a leak. It might be fake. There's no confirmation one way or the other, but until we get actual confirmation, I don't really want to circulate it around.
Did it show the actual card, or was it? I only heard about the name.
They posted just a full. Yeah, they've posted a full picture.
I wonder if like the starter decks got like leaked or something.
Yeah. It is a shame because obviously the earlier that content creators are able to get their spoilers, the better job they can do on previewing. But if people are just going to keep spoiling them and keep leaking them, then I do get where LSS is coming from. It just, the unfortunate side effect is a sort of less creative spoiler season. I
think it's just give them to the content creators as early as possible, because if the content creator is the one who leaks it, then they should just be like, okay, you're not going to get a spoiler card again. And if if the content creator has it early, then they can work on it early, and it could potentially like be backup for leaks. Where like in my case for Uzuri got leaked the day before my spoiler was supposed to go live, and LSS emailed me and they're like, "Hey, yo, your thing, we got word that your thing got leaked. Just post your video now." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And I just posted the video now. My leak was from, I think it was from like a Asian distributor or something like that. Is what I heard. It was from like some sort of distro thing, and I think it was from like a starter product. Oh no, it was from Armory promos or something. It was like the promo.
Yeah.
But
yeah. This is, I mean, obviously it's a problem that card games have had forever. There was the most prominent one that I am aware of was for Magic the Gathering when the set New Phyrexia, which apparently they used to have like an entire, basically like a pamphlet. They called it a god book of like, these are all of the cards that are in this set. And apparently somebody filched it, like stole it from WotC headquarters or whatever, and then scanned it and put it online or whatever the situation was. I could be wrong. This was a long time ago. But yeah, so like the entire book for New Phyrexia as a set got leaked. So that was a huge deal.
That for New Phyrexia, that's like an extra big deal, because if people who know like their Magic history, people didn't know that New Phyrexia was going to be New Phyrexia. There was like a vote whether it was going to be like, people thought it was going to be New Phyrexia or Mirrodin Pure based on what they thought, if the Mirrodins or if the Phyrexians were going to win. So that was kind of a cool thing that Wizards did. Hey, Wizards used to be like super creative about their sets. And I thought that was so cool. And I do remember, the leak being like, kind of being a downer. Everyone be like, oh, okay. It
unfortunately killed the hype for the set like immediately, which is what these leaks always end up doing anyway. So like PSA to anybody who's listening, if you do see something that is an unconfirmed spoiler or leak or whatever, just like don't circulate it around. Even if it's real, even if it's fake, like just like don't interact with it, I think is the best way to sort of work with it. Obviously there are going to be people that do circulate them around, people that do post them on Twitter, but just ultimately, like, it's not like it doesn't necessarily like hurt anybody. It's just kind of a bummer. And like, people want to have fun with this. People want to have fun, especially with their spoiler cards. Like we say, if we get our spoiler cards super early and then somebody leaks them or whatever, then it just kind of takes the wind out of the sails of it. It's just kind of a, like, the best word I can come up with is bummer.
I mean, like, it's just like people are impatient. I don't want to wait.
Yeah, and like I get that too, but just be cool,
just chill, man. Like, once again, it's like, just wait. Like, go.
Yeah, it'll be out in a couple weeks. I mean, you can honestly, something that I've started to appreciate is like knowing about things ahead of time and then being able to keep that information from other people. Personally, I like doing that.
Absolutely, yeah.
It like kills me sometimes, to be honest. I have some like such cool news and stuff, and I'm just like, I really want to talk about it. I can't talk about it. Why can't I talk about it? Well, I mean, I know why I can't talk about it, but it's just like, I want to talk about the cool stuff that I have.
I'm gonna make a disclaimer here. I showed Bill Judge, Jury, Executioner in Barcelona.
But I mean,
if that's NDA, I'm so sorry, but it turned out well, didn't it? Nobody else knew, but I had to say something because I was like, oh my god.
And that's one of the things too. Like we've even with like Steven DM Armada, I know a few times when we've gotten spoiler cards, like we've shared them with each other, and that's like in confidence type deal.
We're all doing the same job, aren't we?
That's not an uncommon thing. I will also say, like, I mean, they don't expect that you're like literally the only one that can see, so like, for example, anytime I get like a spoiler card, for the most part, Robin's going to see it because, well, it depends if I ask her to do the voice. Sometimes she doesn't give a crap at all, but like, I'm like, okay, I want you to do the voice for this character. Here's what they look like. Show the picture of the card. It's like, I think there's like some degree of like, trust in that you're not going to leak it. I think that's basically the end result. And
There's there's a certain level even in even with NDAs because like myself and the rest of the spike feeders actually literally signed NDAs with Wizards of the Coast because we get product like a month early to like make content and stuff with it. There is, as far as I'm aware, there's a clause in the NDA for people who are like quote necessary for, you know, because we're a relatively large channel. We have 8 or 9 people. Like we have people who are responsible for like setting things up and upgrading the deck lists for additional content. We have editors. We have like people who like most of the time it's people that are NDA'd, but there's also like people who are on like a need to know basis can know about them. I haven't like done that. I usually keep things to myself, but yeah, there is like a level of, you know, if somebody is necessary to make content or whatever that hasn't gotten the chance to sign a specific NDA, you can like, it's up to your discretion. But then when that trust gets like double crossed or misused is when it like definitely also is again a bummer. It just kind of feels bad. So
yeah, and if you screw it up, you probably won't get a second chance. It's probably just like it's like a one and done thing, you know.
I mean, I put my full trust in Jim from FABTCG Cards because me and him do the skits for the Azalea Cult videos. I tell him the information, but it's
exactly.
It's just they're trusting us as creators. So there we go.
But yeah. Anyway, with all that being said, obviously none of us are expecting or necessarily like reliant on getting a spoiler for this spoiler season. If it's just not happening, that's totally fine.
I have no idea.
That's cool. But yeah, we're still totally in the dark.
I'm just gutted that the San Francisco Battle Hardened took the long draw half glove as their spoiler card when I would have loved to have done that.
Yeah, because that's an expensive slot card.
Probably going to get a ninja common if I do get something.
You might get an assassin common. Come on, man.
I am hoping beyond hope that somebody at LSS, like, first of all, made a transmogrify style Illusionist buff card, and then second of all, knew that I liked that. Third of all, assigned it to me. That would be really cool. I would love that. I was actually talking with again, friend of the channel, Jay. Shout out Zen State Fab. We were chatting the other day about like, oh, it would be really cool if there was like a pummel style attack reaction, but that was like a Phantasmify effect where it was like attack reaction speed, give something +5 and make it Phantasm or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it now, that might be too strong because that would be after your opponent has declared.
I'm not sure how the
Phantasm like.
Yeah. Phantasm wouldn't
be after Phantasm is relevant.
Wouldn't matter. Yeah.
But then also you got the.
You can like you can make your own, like you can make a new mechanic that's like pseudo Phantasm that's like, you know, gives it +5, and then if a 6 attack card is blocking this, then it gets destroyed. Like rather than like when it blocks, you know.
Yeah, so it makes it sort of retroactively Phantasm.
Yeah. You can kind of make it work without too much like you know wordiness.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Az?
Yeah. That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, you could just design something else to fit into it. But doesn't Mirage do something similar to that? I can't remember what Mirage does.
What does Mirage do? That's a good question. I think we only have one card that has Mirage anyway.
Yeah, I think there might be more Mirage in this set, but I remember it doing something similar to that.
Isn't Mirage the defense one? Only defense reaction?
I think so, yeah.
That's like if it's blocking an attack. Yeah, it's like if it's blocking an attack with 6 or more, it's destroyed.
Yeah, when this is defending a non-illusionist attack with 6 or more attack, destroy this.
Yeah.
But
so it could be something similar to that, couldn't it? That's what I was
thinking of, I mean, they could definitely reword, because I'm pretty sure Phantasm is just like when this gets blocked by something, but it could be like when this is defended by, because then it'll be like a trigger that constantly checks its
I was thinking like, you know, if this is defended by an attack with 6 or more, it is destroyed or something, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, if there was just something, I just want something that makes things illusionist things that weren't illusionist previously, and gives some insane buff. Like, you know, even if there was like It's unfortunate because my specific deck, I want it to cost at least one resource because I have to pitch a yellow.
I want to see them go like buck wild ham. Like I want to see like a 6 cost plus like 12 or something. I want to see something nuts, like plus 13. You know.
Oh my god! Just staple a Frightmare onto a
exactly.
Snatch.
Yeah. Just I want to see something disgusting. Do it. I want to see the big Timmy numbers.
Speaking of big Timmy numbers, while we're rounding this Flesh and Blood off, and obviously a great segue from speaking about Illusionist, there has been a bit of discourse on Twitter recently about Prism is ridiculous now. What are your thoughts on the Illusionist space and how it sort of affects Flesh and Blood? Do you think Flesh and Blood needs an Illusionist or some form of hero that does have board state development, or do you think that takes away from the core of what Fab is? Do you think? It's a big question, I know.
So
yeah.
Well, Bill thinks I'll go first. I think more design space and more mechanics generally are good. I don't think we can determine what Fab is. I think the people making the game can determine what Fab is because they're the ones defining it literally. So if they feel that Illusionist is part of Flesh and Blood, then Illusionist is part of Flesh and Blood. That's kind of my stance. Whether or not it's like fun is a different question. But yeah, I don't think we have a say in the matter, to be honest, in terms of just like what is Flesh and Blood, what's not Flesh and Blood. Yeah, that's my stance on that.
I think it's interesting. There was somebody that was mentioning this at the ProQuest this past weekend. I think that it's intriguing that the first implementation of Illusionist was Light Illusionist, and specifically Prism. It already feels like Light Illusionist is an add-on to an existing class. Like there's things that Prism never cared about. Like specifically Phantasmify, like a bunch of the sort of supporting stuff she never cared about. She really didn't play any just Illusionist cards outside of the one that makes 3 spectral shields at instant speed. I forget what the name of it is.
It's like
Prismatic Shield, I think.
Prismatic Shield, yeah.
Yeah, that was, I think, the only like support card for Illusionist that Prism played until Everfest. I'm kind of thinking in like
Monarch.
Olden days times, like specifically with Monarch. She didn't really care about anything that wasn't Light Illusionist until Everfest and the Blue Zero auras came out.
Unless you're playing
felt like
jank angels like me. Who like I just want to play Phantasmify into my Herald of Erudition kind of BS. You know, use my Dream Weavers. So it's like 10 dominate. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. And that's exactly like what I want to do, but that wasn't like, it feels like they almost skipped a step with Illusionist. That there wasn't just a base Illusionist, and there still hasn't been. There's been like Light Illusionist and then Draconic Illusionist, and so far
two
now
Light and one Draconic, and right, like Mystic,
So I would love to see what just a non-talented Illusionist looks like, because I feel like it's very different from what we would normally see with a talented Illusionist. And I think that makes sense within just the confines of Flesh and Blood. Non-talented decks will have a very distinct playstyle to the talented versions. Like I would say almost that that ninjas are different, because we have Draconic Ninja. We also have regular Ninja. We're going to have Mystic Ninja. They do feel like they do kind of the same base thing, but they do it in a different way each. And they have different supporting cards.
You can think of like Rhinar versus like Levia, or like what's another really good example? I just had it on the tip of my tongue.
Faikatsu.
Well, it's similar. Faikatsu, it's similar. Fai just really cares about like the Draconic cards, where Katsu is just like, specific named cards.
Yeah.
I was then immediately going to say any hero from Aria, but
like Viscerai and like Chain, I think is a good example. They both kind of want to do the same thing, play non-attacks, play attacks, but Chain really cares about, playing from the banish zone, whereas like Viscerai doesn't. He does different stuff. He cares about more about like rune chants and stuff. Yeah.
And like Viscerai kind of cares about going tall, whereas Chain cares about going wide, but they do care about like mixed damage. And so they have sort of a baseline, like a foundation from which they grow from. I
had like a long discussion on my Twitter and my Discord, like, I don't know, many months ago about this. And the way I think about it is that, and I think this is kind of laid out on the Flesh and Blood website if you actually like go read like their description of the classes. Like each class has like a core mechanic or a core theme, and then each like talent also has a core theme, and a talented class mixes the two together, right? So like Brute, I think is a really good example. Brute cares about 6 attack plus cards. That's like their core mechanic. All Brutes care about 6 attack plus, and then like Shadow cares about the banish zone and banishing things, and then you making you lose life for that kind of stuff, and then you mix them together for Levia. Like you care about banishing 6 attacks now because you care about the 6 attacks and you care about banishing, and so that's why I think about it in terms of like class and talent stuff. And I don't think either is inherently stronger, like a talented hero or a non-talented hero. I think some people assume that talented heroes are stronger than untalented, but I think we've seen that is definitely not the case every time. I think it's just kind of like an untalented hero can really hyper focus on their one class mechanic and not have to fiddle around with like their second thing that they're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, go ahead.
I'm excited to see what, like I said, what a non-talented illusionist will look like.
Me too.
Because so far, the 3 that we've seen, we have Prism, who cares about like allies. Like kind of both Prisms felt like they cared about allies. Like the Spectral Shields with Luminaris definitely felt like allies. They almost felt like Ashwings in their own regard. They sort of prevented damage in very similar ways. They pinged for damage in very similar ways. And then now we have New, who cares about Spectral Shields, but appears to care about making them bigger. Like having, Spectral Shields with +1, the attacks cost 1 less, so you can do them more consistently. Like we don't know much about, Enigma. I think I said New, but Enigma. I'm interested to see what sort of binds her to the illusionist class outside of just caring about and making spectral shields. And then I would love to see what the baseline, what the foundation of the illusionist class is, because we haven't seen that yet. I hope that it is transmogrify.
I don't think it's that, unfortunately. I think the illusionist is having like a board presence, because if you think about like Dromai as well cares about board presence, but her board presence is dragons, whereas they really want Prism's board presence to be angels, and it seems like New's board presence is spectral shields. And it really feels like they're kind of like they try to like quick retcon Prism, where it was like she kind of had angels and she did spectral shield, and they're like, no, wait, we want you to do the angel thing. Here's more angels, and we'll even make them like Marvel, like we did the dragons, and like here, do the angel stuff. I think my guess, unless it's specifically said on the website, I haven't looked in a while. I think it's like board state is like illusionist's thing. Yeah.
That does check out. I would love to be able to attack with a War-Tune Herald for 25 though. So
yeah, I mean, like I said, give me like a +13 or something. Like give me something nuts.
Yeah,
let's get nuts. Reminds me of that scene from Batman with Michael Keaton. He's like smashes the thing and he's like, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." Like that's what I want. I want Prism to do that, because she's kind of, let's be honest, she's kind of unhinged. In like that holier than thou kind of way. Yeah.
I would definitely agree with that.
I think so you're all in agreement that having an illusionist or a design space which matters about, I have to sometimes attack your Spectra, or I have to sometimes worry about your allies that are deterring my attacks. You think that's a good thing to have in the game then, rather than just attacking the opponent directly?
So I'm not sure if it's I'm not sure if it's a good thing, but I definitely. So what I was saying is like I think that if the game devs want it to be a thing and say it's part of Flesh and Blood, then that's just how it is. Like because they're the ones making the game and defining what the game is. Whether or not it's like fun or like good is a different question. I don't hate it. Yeah. I think it's a cool design. I think it's a cool design space. I did say earlier as well as I welcome more design space. If they don't do it like too much, and I think confining it, and we talked about this in a different podcast, I think confining it to Illusionist and not really dipping it into too many other classes, I think that's good. Like I don't want every class to have allies. I don't want that. That would not. Yeah, that would feel weird to me. And that's why we criticized the Kasai specialization. We even asked Brian Gottlieb when he was on the podcast talking about that. He said basically the reasoning was it just made sense for Kasai, and that's why they did it. And I was like, okay, there's like, you know, kind of like a lore and flavor reasons.
Yeah, he even said that, didn't he? It was all lore-based, the fact he was doing it. And it makes sense of the Illusionists for why they're doing it as well. But I think it's also, as much as I don't like Illusionists, because it's not very a good matchup for the hero I play the most, I think you do need that design space to push the envelope. Otherwise, Fab just becomes a I can do more numbers than you game.
Like, I agree.
So,
because like, at the base level, like Flesh and Blood, I'm not gonna say it's boring because I really like playing Flesh and Blood, but it's like you could only do just like numbers, you can only do like a 0 for 4 like so many times, or a 1 for 5 or a 2 for 6 so many times without it getting stale. So like having these like more interesting mechanics like allies and whatever else they're doing, I think keeps the game fresh and keeps it from just being like, you know, 0 for 4 with this on hit, 0 for 4 with this conditional go again, or you know, whatever. Which is like, you think about you think powerful cards, and a lot of them are just like, you know, like Swarming Gloomveil, right? It's like literally when you break it down, it's just like a 0 for 4 with like extra steps. Like, yeah.
We'll say though, with regards to the Prism stuff, a lot of the sort of controversy and discourse and stuff, whether you've seen it or not, is all based on the old mechanics. And we know that Brian has come on record and said Spectra was a bad idea.
James,
Spectra is one of the main things.
Did James say that too? Or did he say Luminaris was a bad idea? He said one of those two, maybe both. I don't know, man.
I would believe both.
Yeah.
And then there's also another gameplay pattern as well now, which is annoying a lot of people, which is the Arclight Sentinel loop as well, which goes against like people's enjoyment of the game, and the fact that some people have been saying that you shouldn't have an infinite loop, or not an infinite loop, but some sort of loop in Fab that just doesn't allow you to play, because that's what the Arclight Sentinel loop does with when you recur it with Avalon. So that's another that's all.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, no. It all stems back to Spectra anyway, which is the issue that a lot of people are complaining about. Basically,
I want to pose a question after we talk about Spectra, because I think it's an interesting question. But I mean, like, what do you guys feel about the Spectra Prism thing? Personally, I mentioned, I don't know if we're keeping it in the beginning, but I was like, I must like have curated who I follow on Twitter very, very well, because I didn't really see a lot of people complaining about it. I've only seen the people complaining about it, which is like fair, but I'm not seeing the other side, which means I'm following the right people, which is great.
Exactly.
And it's just like, wow, this is one of those things where I can just like, I play other games, so I just tune it out, and I'll just wait until everyone's done being angry at the flavor of the month. Like,
I'm not sure how much of the intro we had in there, but there are ways of getting round the Spectra thing. You just have to make sure that you're sideboarding into certain metas when they arise. Like Prism has got a lot of optics right now. People love the character. People love putting things on the board and doing all this. And what happens when you do that? You have to build your deck to combat what's happening at the moment, especially if you're in a professional space. So, you know, or professional space, you know, competitive space, whatever. And there are things to do that as well. You just have to Google action point on February, and that will counter Spectra to a certain degree. It might sort of sort of derail your deck to a certain degree, but that's always going to happen. You can't just play your deck without no interaction. I'm afraid it's not going to happen.
You can play like a freaking time snap potions, and your deck will be fine. It's like a blue pitch card, gives you extra action points. It'll be fine. Like I think time snapping like Azalea would be like totally fine, right? You can just you can have it for the spectral shield, and then also you can use it to have a go wide turn if you don't need the spectral shield. It's like still good. So
time skippers as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of things out there. It might sort of dilute your deck, but that's what you have to tackle if you're in that space. There's no point complaining about it. You just have to find ways around it. Illusionist will always. This is another point as well. Every single Illusionist that's ever come out has impacted the scene at large every time.
I do love
because of its mechanics.
I do love that like 2 weeks ago, New Prism was trash, and now people want her like to have bans. Like I do think that's kind of funny. That really feels like the Flesh and Blood discourse a lot. It's like, oh crap, this deck's winning, ban it. Like now whether or not the infinite combo thing, we'll talk about that. That's the question I want to pose to you guys. Is good or not, that's different. I just think it's kind of funny how the Flesh and Blood discourse works. And then
people are attached to characters, aren't they? And people also hate characters that hate on their characters. So it's just like
maybe it's because the other 3 games I play are like, like not as big as Flesh and Blood right now, but like it feels like a uniquely Flesh and Blood thing to like do that. Like even in like Grand Archive when like Lorraine was like the biggest thing. People called for like maybe a ban or 2 here, but no one actually like hates Lorraine. Like people are like, oh yeah, Lorraine's cool, or like Merlin. But like there are people I've seen her just like, I hate Prism. She's like the worst thing ever. Which is kind of ironic coming from people who like I find ironic when people are like, I love Prism, but I hate Lexi, and it's just like, bro, like.
I think it's just because of the matchup thing. Each hero should have a rubbish matchup. That's the way it goes. Especially when all these heroes get introduced, there's going to be one hero that you're just not good against for whatever reason, and as a result of that, you start hating on that character. If you draw into them in a gem match, you're like, oh no, not this character again, I can't win, and then you just develop that hatred for that character, but also the love for your own character. So I guess that's also part of it. But
yeah, like
that's a good thing though.
I can relate a little bit, but I don't ever hate the character. Like Oldhim is the closest for me, and I just think it's just super unfun to play against. And then maybe a little bit of Kano, but at least Kano will kill you. Oldhim just wastes your time. That's the thing for me. Like I actually like Oldhim as a character. I think he's cool. I think having like older like characters in general in media is cool. Almost all the characters you see and stuff are like 20-year-olds. Like great looking 20-year-olds, and so like having like the cool old dude is kind of cool, which is also kind of a trope, but I think it's cool. But
before we go into what he
just wastes my time. Like that's what I don't like about Oldhim. He just wastes my time. Yeah.
And before we go into what you were going to ask us, that's exactly what the ALS loop does. It wastes people's time because they can't get out of it. So that's another thing. Well, it's not you're not dealing damage to anybody. You're just wasting their time but
the question is, Prism's not dealing damage either, right? In this situation, or is she also being able to deal damage? I think what makes Oldhim so annoying is that he also doesn't hurt you back. He just blocks all day until he can slowly nickel and dime you with his hammer.
I think it's a similar. I don't know how it's a win con with Prism. I mean, you're able to ALS your opponent every single turn, and then come back with something on your.
Because I think you're still attacking. You're still attacking with the angel to get it back, right? That's what you do.
Yeah, that's right.
You attack with the angel of rebirth. I think that's the one.
Avalon, yeah.
Yeah, Avalon, and then that's how you get the ALS back, and you just keep doing that every turn, as long as you keep drawing enough resources to play and attack with the angel. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically what it is. But yeah.
My question is to you guys and to the audience too. Maybe this is the title of the video. I don't know. This is like an hour and 15 minutes. So putting this topic at the end is maybe not great. But
that last time as well, didn't we? Put the topic at the end.
Yeah, well, it's because it's the most interesting thing. Are infinite combos good for the health of Flesh and Blood? Because I believe, let me give you my stance before I ask you guys' stance. I believe infinite combos in games and card games in general are a good thing. Some people will say they're not. I think they're good if they're not too easy to do. I think there's a threshold where, like, if you can do it like turn 1 or turn 2, I don't think that's good. But I think if it requires a little bit of setup to be able to pull off, just to close the game, like that's your win condition, other than attacking your opponent for 20 damage for magic or whatever. If your win condition is Splinter Twin or whatever the hell your infinite combo is, I think that's fine and probably good, because it gives different types of players different avenues to win. Like, it's not always, lightning bolt you for 3 and, attack with my goblin guide or whatever. So that's my general stance. Not necessarily my stance on Flesh and Blood. I guess I want to hear your guys' thoughts on the matter first. So yeah, what do you guys think about infinite combos?
I think it very heavily depends on the type of interaction that you can provide, because there is, like, just fundamentally in a lot of card games, sort of a triforce of power, where there's combo decks, there's mid-range decks, and there's aggro decks, and they all kind of keep each other in check. Like, aggro decks usually are better than combo decks because they can kill them before their combo gets off. Combo decks kind of beat mid-range decks because they don't win fast enough for the game until the combo player gets their combo together. But mid-range decks then beat aggro decks for having a little bit of interaction and being able to sort of run them out of resources.
Yep.
And that was just off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure that all made logical sense, but if somebody will correct me anyway.
It makes sense. I was just like, but control's got to be in there somewhere too. I think you can swap control for combo, I think, because, like, a lot of combo decks are control decks with their win cons being an infinite combo.
That's actually what it is instead of mid-range. I subbed mid-range for control, but that is, like, the usual sort of triangle of this beats this, beats this, beats this. So, but yeah, so it depends on how good the answers are. Like I mentioned, for to beat combo, usually you have to be aggro. Usually you are the one that is like killing them before their non-interactive combo goes off. The thing that's unfortunate about this specific infinite combo is that it does shut down aggressive decks. Like, it interacts in a way that I think is sort of opposite to how the usual triangle works, because this one actually is also, like, control in a way, in that it prevents your opponent from killing you before their combo ends or before their combo gets set up or whatever. Because you can have the Arclight Sentinel, sort of, you can put it out early before you actually get the recursion in place. And then you've used that to prevent a really good on hit, or you've used that to prevent enough damage to kill you. And then later, once your combo gets out, you have recurred it and put it back into play. So getting it out early doesn't stop you from still having your combo. And I think that that's probably the issue. I don't think inherently that combos are bad. Like Kel was saying, I think it is just part of game design that infinite combos are going to happen. But it depends on how easily you're able to interact with it. And, like, something like Slay would be great.
Slay is actually hilarious.
Slay is the exact type of interaction that you need, but it is too narrow.
Yeah, it's a shadow card that
classes to actually have access to.
I'd like to point out here, we are saying infinite combos. Technically, Avalon isn't infinite, because in order to attack with her, you have to banish a card from your soul. So yes, it's not technically infinite, but it can be many turns.
Yeah. But yeah, like, again, especially in Flesh and Blood, there aren't really ways, because of the action point system and the action point economy, there aren't currently ways to actually go infinite, which I think is, like, totally fine, again, within the framework of this. So infinite combo kind of gets, it's more of a lock, which I think can be sort of, it can live under the umbrella of combo. Because you get your A plus B plus C, but sometimes you get it together and you have essentially won the game. But yeah, I think it's interesting that this sort of combo also inherently kind of shuts down aggro. With like well-placed things, it kind of works as a combo / control deck, which maybe infringes and spreads itself a little bit too wide for the average Flesh and Blood deck to deal with. But the upside is even locally, like the players, even the player that won our ProQuest, who is just objectively extremely good at this game. Even he was like, it was a toss-up between whether I want to play Azalea or Prism, and I did not have the time to put in reps on Prism because the deck is really hard.
Yeah.
So like, it is a difficult deck to pilot. That then also, in a way, offsets how bad it is for the game, because it's not just something that somebody can buy the list for, take it to the closest event and just win. Like, you will likely lose if you don't know how to play this deck, which is kind of healthy, but then obviously the better your local meta gets, the more prevalent it becomes, and the worse it gets from there. So it's I think that combos are fine. I think that maybe this Arclight Sentinel loop is not fine, but I don't think it's necessarily Arclight Sentinel that's the issue. I think it is Avalon that is the problem card for this interaction. As unfortunate as that may be for people who don't like playing against Arclight Sentinel, like I think it is, as a finite resource, Arclight Sentinel is okay. It costs 6. It prevents 1 attack. You get to do that 3 times throughout the game. That's fine. Once you start getting into 4, 5, 6, 7 times, that is the issue.
Yeah,
it's the same thing as we were talking about earlier with like being able to recur Buzzsaw Trap potentially like half dozen times throughout a game. That would be miserable. That would suck.
Yeah, true.
Because you're just like, I just want to hit you. That's all I want to do.
What I want to do. Yeah. But
yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, so what we were speaking about there is interesting discussion point with regards to combo, aggro, control, whatever the sort of triangle is. Yeah, because I think Prism, this iteration of Prism, can act on every single angle of those. She can go the aggressive route because she has go again on all heralds and angels now.
Yep.
She has on hits that are attached to those heralds and angels, so you can just go pure. You know, we know how valuable heralds are. They're 1 for 5, 1 for 6, 1 for 7 sometimes. Now there's got on hits attached to them, so she can go aggro because she can give those things go again, and then morph her figments into more angels to go aggro.
Mm-hmm.
She can go control also because she has things like Soul Shield, things like Ward, things like Arclight Sentinel, so she can do that as well. And then she can also go into the combo with the Arclight Sentinel Avalon thing. So she has all of these points, which is why a lot of people are saying, Prism's busted or whatever, because she has all of these things that we just said these decks should sort of outperform each other, but she has all aspects of that in a Prism deck, which is the scary thing. Hence why she's got less life, because she can pretty much do everything. And that's why we're seeing a lot of people play this deck now, as at least from what I've just gathered from this conversation. Actually, I haven't thought about it until we just discussed it, but she has all of those points in different cards in her deck, whereas I don't think many other heroes can do all of that all at once.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, so
it's just a case of her doing too much and being too flexible. Which, like, I was kind of thinking about other examples, because, like, I think that I sort of mentioned, I think in the preamble to this episode, that I was like, Prism couldn't possibly be worse than, like, Starvo or, like, Full Power Chain with Seeds of Agony. And I think it's a different type of problem now that we've sort of talked through it. I think that it is a different type of problem because, like, Chain was just... like, he was aggressive and he was an aggro deck, but like turned up to 11. Like, he was just so unbelievably aggressive. He never ran out of resources because you just keep drawing cards off of Soul Shackles. Like, he was just an aggro deck that you almost couldn't shut down because he was so efficient.
Yeah.
And then you have Starvo, which is, like, I think a mix between an aggressive deck and a control deck, because you just had all the fridges.
Starvo can do everything, for sure.
Crown of Seeds. Starvo can do everything. He didn't really, like, have a combo. I wouldn't describe it as a combo deck. Like,
Starvo's combo is like your double fuse Oakenold thing.
Yeah, like it was having things sort of line up.
Casino,
I think it still does. It was kind of a casino. It does kind of still fit under combo because you're getting your A+B. Like, this is, I have my things that set up this thing and then also feed into the aggressive part. because it's not necessarily game ending unless you're at like less than 10 life, which is the funny thing to me with Starvo is if you were playing against Starvo and you ever at any point got like at 10 life or below 10 life, the game was over. You couldn't win. they hit one fuse and you're done. That's it. But yeah, so Starvo was likely that, but maybe turned up to 11 because again, the problem was in the aggressive part of his trifecta. And games were ending so fast that like other decks couldn't do anything about it. And even if they tried to, he had the control aspects. He had the combo aspect to regain sort of tempo from your opponent. And now I think Prism is the more defensive version of that potentially. I don't know if that's going to be too much of a hot take for people, but I think that's why people are complaining about her is because she sort of spans the three categories, but in a more defensive leaning way. And that maybe feels worse.
I think people are complaining about her for like a couple of reasons. I actually don't think she's like overpowered. I think she's like strong, but I don't think she's like super overpowered. I think she is annoying to play against, right? Because like I mentioned, Avalon isn't infinite. Like once you run out of, cards in your soul, you can't keep doing it forever. There's going to be a stopping point. But like while she's doing it, it's just kind of annoying. And like Ash says, you kind of waste your time. Which is why I don't like Oldhim, because he just wastes my time. You win or lose, it's still, you just ate an hour and a half of my life or whatever. Like I could have like watched a movie or played like a single game of Commander, but like I think that's why, right? I think it's just kind of like she's annoying. She has history of being like annoying, and it's just like not fun to hit up, run against that, and you're probably just frustrated, especially since maybe some people are going into this being like, I thought this hero was trash. Like, why is she so good?
I think it's just inherently, if more people play Illusionist class, I think it's just going to become more and more of a hero that gates out other things, isn't it? The more people play it, the worse it gets, I guess, because more people are playing it. Bill's just saying my headphones are about to die.
No.
Yeah, my headphones keep saying charge me. So like when that happens, I'll be able to swap over to a speaker and still be able to listen to you guys. But they'll probably just drop off randomly, maybe even halfway through a sentence. But yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know.
Okay. Well, we would talk for like an hour and a half, so we'll probably wrap it up soon anyway.
Pretty much good. Yeah.
I do think that it's interesting, and I think that Az has just a really good point in that she kind of does everything. That's something that I hadn't really thought of before, and it's something very intriguing as well to the way that Flesh and Blood internally, I guess maybe not internally, but the way that they tend to balance heroes outside of not giving them good cards. Because when Prism Advent of Thrones was revealed, and they're like, she only has 30 life, like that's the same as Kano. Her effect has to be as insane as Kano. And then we saw it, and it's like fine, her effect is whatever, but it's like it's her card pool that makes her such a devastating force.
Brian even mentioned that he thought it was a big miss. He thought Prism was a big miss, that she wasn't strong enough when Dusk Till Dawn came out, and that's why they printed cards to make her better, right? They felt
the Bolton effect, baby.
Yeah, she got like the Bolton treatment. Didn't need that many cards though. Like Bolton needed a bunch of cards. He got a bunch of legendaries and a bunch of specializations and crap. And Prism, they just like, here's a better Luminaris that doesn't, suck ass. And it's just like, I think it's
it's just also being, having the ability to access the old card pool. The hero that they designed, Prism, Awakener of Soul, CC, Advent of Thrones, Blitz. That is a more balanced Prism. With regards to the hero ability and not having access to Luminaris, for instance, that is better. But obviously, she could still access all of the Monarch cards, all of the Everfest cards.
It's because she works well with those cards too. It's because like if you look at Vincent technically has access to all the chain cards minus the specializations, but she doesn't want to use them because she plays like completely differently, right? Whereas Prism,
very true. Yeah.
Like New Prism,
any of those cards.
Yeah, and then New Prism just can still use them, and she's still really good with them.
Yeah,
Never thought of that.
For Vincent, it's actually funny because Jay is a big Vincent enjoyer, and
glutton for punishment.
He was just mentioning
Vincent and Riptide.
He was just mentioning this past weekend that he's been playing Bounding Demagon of all cards.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, it's actually pretty good. Like, it doesn't have a super high ceiling, but it has a really consistent floor.
Yeah.
Like, it works really well with things like shadow puppetry. And like, I get it. It's like, it's totally reasonable.
It's a chain staple. Yeah.
I was like, when they said they were going to, like, you know, release another Shadow Runeblade or something, I was actually actively worried, because if they played anything like Chain, then Seeds of Agony was just going to be busted again. Because that card, I didn't get it when I was like a new player and I was watching like the Calling Vegas happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, and they were like, oh, it's about to, like, they're going to ban Seeds of Agony or whatever. And I was like, I think it's like a support card, but it's like, you know, the deck can function without it. I think that card's insane. I think that card is way too good to be a common.
Pretty good.
Like, especially for just what Shadow Runeblade wants to do.
Put 9 of them in your deck.
Yeah, like easy rainbow in like every Runeblade deck, because you want to hit attack action, non-attack action. You want those in your turn. You can play it from Banish.
That's why it's good.
That's
like
crazy.
The reason it's good is it's a 0 cost that you can play from Banish that has Go again. Like, it also does like 1 point of arcane damage, but that's really why it's good. And specifically because of Chain. Otherwise it wouldn't be that good, right? Because if it was just a card in your hand to play, it's like, whatever, man. Like, you saw that with like Bramble Spark or whatever is similar to that, and it's like, what, fine, right? It's not Seeds of Agony, but Seeds, because you just it's free. It's just literally just in your banish zone. You just play it for free.
Seeds of Agony could have not even had the arcane damage text on it, and it still would have been too good, I think. I don't think that it needed the extra ping. I think literally just it being like a blank Blood Debt card that you can play from your banish zone that is a non-attack action with Go again. I think that card is too good in Flesh and Blood.
When you think about the rest of the card pool, you have like Rift Bind that got, you know, plus for every non-attack that you played. You had your Eclipse, which was like the big finisher then, where you would summon Urser. Chain is a monster, dude.
But yeah, so I think that Vincent was a really good example of being able to design something for an existing class with an objectively very strong card pool and not make it overpowered. Yeah, and I think that Prism is kind of the inverse of that. I don't want that to mean that I don't want to say that I think that Prism is poorly designed, because I just think that her card pool is very good, and that they printed more very good cards for her, and she's actively able to take advantage of them, unlike Vincent, I think.
We say that now, but watch as they print super OP Vincent cards like they are for, like, they're just going to keep printing cards until she's good, and then she becomes disgusting. Like, maybe they're going to give her a weapon that's like, you know, Shadow Luminaris that gives all the crap Go again, and then she becomes Chain again, you know?
Yeah. It's, if that happens, then Jay is just going to pump his fist until his arm falls off.
Absolutely. I've actually had a few of his streams playing in the background, like when I've been doing stuff, because he plays on Talishar, just goes through his plays as a Vinset. So I've been having that on the background, Jay, if you're watching this. But hell yeah, a couple of those views are from me.
Anyway, I think that will probably be a decent place for us to cap this off. This has been a really good discussion. Lots of really insightful stuff. And for engagement bait, anybody who's made it this far, what do you think about Prism?
On a scale,
is Prism too strong?
Yeah. On a scale of genus to Prism, how much do you hate Prism?
Absolutely. Yeah. What a scale that is. Yeah.
But once again, I think that'll do it for us for today. Again, really good discussion. So thank you guys both for joining us and just chatting through some thoughts, feelings, and concerns as well about the current meta of Flesh and Blood. Once again, I have been Bill. I guess, do we want to do an Arsenal step? What have you guys been up to? I've been playing Poke Rogue.
The hell? I assume that's a Pokemon roguelite.
It is. It's a Pokemon roguelite. It is free. It is browser based. And it's just kind of interesting.
Do you have to go
I've
to
been trying it out.
albino black sheep to access it? To
No, it's its
Newgrounds.
It's its own website. I wish Flash games still existed. Let me tell you.
I played a lot of slime volleyball in middle school. Tell you that.
Apparently, there is a website that is like an archive for a lot of old Flash games. I think, weren't you mentioning that or no? No. That's my friend Chris. Very very similar type of dude. But yeah, there's an internet archive. There's like a website that you can like download all of the Flash games that ever existed. And yeah, kind of interesting. But yeah, I've been playing Poke Rogue. Anybody in the comments who has also played Poke Rogue? My first run that got past floor 20. There's 200 floors in classic mode. My first run, it took me like 10 or 20 runs to get past floor 20. The second I did, my build was good enough to get to floor 200.
All right.
Because I was able to get Kartana, who is an Ultra Beast. But yeah, Pokemon. That's what I've been up to, other than judging this ProQuest. So let's kick it over alphabetically to Az. What you been up to, buddy?
Cool. I've watched the whole Fallout series now, so I definitely recommend that.
Oh, nice.
Good stuff. It's good stuff. And as a result of that, I tried to download New Vegas. So I downloaded New Vegas Fallout, went to play it, and I'm having a graphic renderer error every time I try and play it, because it's probably an old game.
I was gonna guess
my graphics card is too good for it.
There's a Fallout meme that you need like 40 add-ons to make any Fallout game work on your PC.
Yeah. So I tried playing that. Obviously, speakers have gone a little bit there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll try not to speak too loudly while we wrap this up, so I don't get any echo.
ASMR at the end.
Absolutely, yeah.
You guys guessed it. My headphones died.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, tried to play that, but obviously didn't succeed. So looking for another game to play, perhaps at the moment. But I might just download like a Helldivers, something easy I can just play, shoot 'em up, style game. Maybe like a real-time strategy game or something, like a Total War, something like that, where I can just put a bit of time into it, and it doesn't need bloody live service garbage. I
would recommend Civilization 5 or 6. They're both really good if you just want like a chill, kind of building your stuff kind of game.
Yeah, I think that's what.
Another good option for that I tried out for a little bit, but then I sort of remembered that I'm not a huge fan of like, not necessarily like survival, but like crafting, whatever. Factorio is
big brain.
Is like a relatively old one, but like it was pretty good. It was, I think, the closest that I've gotten to being interested in that genre. But yeah, if you're looking for like chill, just sort of crafting with like technology trees and stuff like that. I'd probably recommend Factorio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Apart from that, not much else. So I'll throw it over to you, Cal, last.
Video game wise, I picked up a new isometric ARPG called No Rest for the Wicked. It's done by the same people who did Ori and the Blind Forest. The game is not Diablo. Do not go into it thinking it's Diablo. It is isometric Dark Souls. It is hard. It will kick your ass. And I'm someone who loves those kind of games, and you're generally pretty good, and I've died a couple times already, which is saying a lot. It's a good game. It's definitely in early access still. I got stuck. I literally got stuck in a wall in the first opening area, not the prologue, but in the actual like first area. Like I was just kind of running around doing little dashes and dodges and stuff, kind of just kind of dicking around, and I like went through a grate in the wall, and it's like I was like, oh cool, is this like a secret passage? No, I'm just stuck there. And there's no teleport. I had no way to kill myself. I tried to. I had a bomb, and I tried to kill myself. Didn't kill me. And then I was like, oh, maybe I'll exit and then reload. And it reloads me back in the wall. So I'm like, well, I guess this character is just screwed. They're just stuck on the wall. So, it's early access. Keep it going with a grain of salt, but the game is very cool. I do like it. I would recommend it. And it's only like I said, there's no DLC battle pass BS kind of going on, and it's only like $40. And I used a content creator's code that I watch called Riker, and you got like 20% off. So I paid like $30 for it. So like,
Nice.
it's fun. I recommend it, but just go. Remember, it's early access, so it's like there's bugs, right? You can get stuck. You can get stuck in the wall. Yeah. I played it for like a couple hours, not super long. And then anything else? I really just need to go back and watch or finish Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm in the end game. I just haven't finished it. And then I also need to go finish Final Fantasy 7. So I have a backlog of games. Oh, and then like Stellar Blade's coming out. And I'm actually really looking forward to that too. So there's a bunch of video games that I'm gonna happily not be able to play in May because I'm gonna be away from home for like 2.5 weeks or whatever. So yeah, that's that. That's my outside of card games. Other than that, I'm building lots of decks for WeCross and Shadowverse. Having fun with that. Nice. Played with some folks in the Discord. Yeah. It was really, really great. Yeah, loving card games right now. And when people are like complaining about Prism, I can just be like, I'm gonna go play this other card game, and have a lot of fun with it.
We'll play Magic the Gathering. But yeah. Anyway, that'll do it for us here on the Living Legends podcast. Thank you guys once again for joining me, and thank you, the listener or viewer at home, for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Always appreciate your support. Stay well, stay safe, and we will catch you all in the next one.
Bye.